Today we are talking about reproduction in someone who has testes or somebody who is assigned male at birth. So the first thing we have to talk about is the reproductive organ in somebody assigned male at birth, and that would be the testes. And someone who's assigned female at birth, we said the ovaries are the reproductive organ. What do we mean when we say reproductive organ? We mean the organ or the part of the body that is producing the reproductive cells. So in this case, they're producing sperm. In the case of the ovary, producing an egg. So the job of the testes are to make sperm. Sperm are the reproductive cell that are going to go fertilize the egg, and then also testosterone, which is a hormone. And we'll learn a little bit more about that hormone later. The testes are actually outside of the body, so they are in the scrotum. And the reason that they're outside of the body is because body temperature is too warm. So sperm have to be produced in a cool environment. And so 98 degrees is too warm, and so they're outside of the body in this little sac called the scrotum, and this helps cool it off a little bit. Fun fact here that you don't need to know for the test, but just a fun fact, the testes actually develop by the kidneys. So the kidneys are kind of in your lower back, and they have to actually move downward into the scrotum. So that gets us to our sperm, which are the reproductive cells. We talked about meiosis, so remember reproductive cells are made by meiosis. Sperm cells are made from puberty on through the rest of an individual's life. So the sperm actually are not made at birth, like in somebody assigned female at birth, but they're actually made during puberty. And then this continues for the rest of their life. So when you are 80, you could still be producing sperm. So sperm have 23 chromosomes. Remember, 23 plus 23 makes 46, and that is what we need for a full set of chromosomes. 10 to 30 billion made per month. I don't necessarily need you to memorize this number, but I need you to know that it's like billions, lots. Whereas somebody who has ovaries is going to produce 1 egg per month. So there's a big difference there. If you look at my fun fact down here, 300 million sperm released per ejaculation. So that's a lot. When we're talking about chances of pregnancy, right, there's a lot of other things that have to happen correctly, but 300 million sperm fighting to get to 1 egg. Sperm live for 3 to 5 days, and this is actually pretty important. An egg lives for anywhere between 1 to 3 days. Sperm can live for 3 to 5. Why is this important? Well, if somebody is trying to get pregnant, theoretically, the sperm can live inside of a female for 3 to 5 days, which means if ovulation happens, if there's an egg released at any point during those 3 to 5 days, it could get fertilized. So when we're talking about the ability to get pregnant, it's a lot more than just, oh, well, we had sex on this day, so we're going to get pregnant, or we're not going to get pregnant. There is this really kind of big window, right? 5 days is a long time. So if ovulation occurs any time within that 5 days, there's potential for pregnancy. So let's talk about where a sperm cell goes then. So when sperm make it into the vaginal cavity, all right, the sperm has to make it past all of the following obstacles. So I like to think of this as the Great Sperm Obstacle Course. They have a lot of things in their way, but remember there's 300 million of them. So it's okay if a lot of them don't make it. So first of all, the person who has the uterus has an immune system, and that immune system might attack some of those sperm and kill them. So some of the sperm are not going to make it because the immune system is going to attack them. The vagina is pretty acidic. Sperm don't like very acidic environments. And so some of them are going to die because they can't hack the acidic environment. You'll see my fun fact here, kills about 25% of the sperm that are introduced into the vagina. There's a lot of mucus covering the cervix. Remember, the cervix is the the hole entering into the uterus. And mucus is there for a reason. One of the things that birth control does is it actually thickens that mucus and it makes it harder for the sperm to get into that opening, into the uterus, and then to the fallopian tube. If they get past all of that, they have to pick the correct fallopian tube. So the fallopian tubes take turns, or the ovaries take turns releasing eggs. So on any given month, there is one egg going in one fallopian tube. And so probably about half are going to pick the right one and half are going to pick the wrong one. So now let's talk about the male reproductive parts. So in order to make sperm, we have the testes here, and you'll see I have a different word here. This is the word for the tubes inside of the testes that actually make the sperm. So if you go on to study reproductive anatomy, you will learn that there are lots and lots of different parts here that we're not going to talk about. But inside of the testes, there's something called the seminiferous tubules, and those are the actual spots that make the sperm cells. So this is where meiosis is happening. So once the sperm cells are made here, we have the epididymis, and this is where the sperm is stored, in this area right on top of the testes. If you're absent today, just ask me for a diagram when you get back, and I will gladly give you one. And then we see this long, skinny tube. This long, skinny tube is called the vas deferens. And this tube basically is the passageway for sperm. So I just have tube from the epididymis where they're stored all the way out. And then we learned that this is the urethra. And we said, hey, that's where pee goes. Well, yeah. So pee goes here, and then also sperm also go through here as well. So the next set, this is just the bladder. It's on there. I'm just going to have you label it. We are not going to talk about the bladder because we've already talked about it in a previous unit. So we see this little structure here, the seminal vesicle, and I'm actually going to hit prostate gland here. So seminal vesicle, prostate gland. Both of these things produce semen. You're like, semen? What's semen? I thought semen and sperm were the same things. Well, sperm are the cells. Semen is the fluid that sperm cells are in. So we have to add that fluid. When we talked about our blood, we said plasma is the liquid in the blood. It's kind of like the water in the lazy river. This is like the water in the lazy river. So it makes it a lot easier for these sperm to swim if they've got some liquid to swim in. So both of these two things are producing semen. So what happens here is the sperm, they travel along, and as they go past here, they go past the prostate gland, the seminal vesicle, the fluid is getting added. This fluid also is more basic, which counteracts like the acidity of the vagina then. The structure on the outside is just called the penis. So it's basically just the structure. It doesn't actually like do anything in terms of sperm production. We have the urethra, that's just the opening to the outside. And you'll notice it's connected to the bladder here, right? So yeah, pee goes here, and also sperm and semen goes here. So I have a little slide here. This is not, if you're If you have the 2022 version of the note packet, the series version, you don't have this on your note packet. You can just write it where you have space. So semen is a fluid that carries sperm. It's basic because the vagina is acidic. And then it also has food for the sperm. So remember that our egg cells have a food source, our sperm cells don't. And so they need some sugar to help them make that ATP energy. So go ahead and pause this if you need more time to write. And then the last part here is the prepuce, which is the foreskin. So if somebody gets circumcised, this is taken off. It's a flap of skin and it covers the tip of the penis.